Do you remember the soundbite of the year, of the decade? It was Martha Raddatz talking with J.D. Vance. And yes, we're going to replay this because I love it. They were talking about the Aurora, Colorado apartment buildings being taken over by a violent gang, South American gang. And Martha had the most amazing thing to say. But I want to start with a graph, a chart, a map that Alex was talking about before we began recording this. Alex is the producer. And if you look at this, this is 2020's Proposition 114 narrowly passed. I'll explain what this is in a second. If you're looking at this, you can see the places it passed were the cities. The cities loved this thing. Denver, Aurora, the big cities loved it. The counties didn't. So what was it? It was to reintroduce the gray wolf into a population. Now, by the way, I happen to think wolves should be allowed to be wolves. I happen to think I want some wolves. But then again, I don't raise cattle. My brother-in-law works with ranchers and how they can keep their cows safe from wolves and how they can, use barriers, et cetera, and sound. And he's really into that. So I can see both sides of this. But what I find so interesting, of course, the cities are saying, yeah, there's no problem with wolves. So how about this? Let's take the wolves to the cities. Let's get a wolf pack for Aurora. Let's get a wolf pack for Denver, or maybe 3 or 4. Denver's a pretty big city. The wolves should have free run of it. And when people's dogs start disappearing, they can go from, well, the wolves are all very, very beautiful, to get them out, except they won't. There's an amazing thing about the people called smugglers. They are incapable of connecting their votes to the outcomes of their votes because they're animated by 2 things, caring and fairness. They don't consider anything else. They don't consider freedom or liberty, safety. They don't consider the Constitution. They don't consider authoritarianism. That stuff may be somewhere down in the back of their mind, but primary to any of this is it caring or fairing? Or is it fair and caring? That does everything for them. So Martha Raddatz hears about people, gangs, taking over apartment buildings. And she has to think right away, how do I put this in a caring and fairness lens? So why are we bringing this up? It's ancient history. It's not. Because there is an update I'll share with you here in just a second. The gangs are here for money. And they're being allowed to run through cities and own entire areas of cities and overrun them and make money as cartels. And the drug trafficking always leads to human trafficking and sex trafficking, always. Because sex trafficking is better business. You can only sell a drug once, then you need to make more. You can sell a human being hundreds of times a day and just feed them minimally. And in fact, put them on drugs. It always happens that way. So corruption follows money. The love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money. Now, my friend Zach Abraham, the Chief Investment Officer of Bulwark Capital Management, he doesn't love money. He stewards it. What he loves is managing risk for people. What he loves is seeing people enter into retirement with a successful plan. And Zach has a unique way of describing what a successful retirement means. It's not what some other people would do. Other people will show you pictures of beach vacations and $2 million RVs and multiple homes. And maybe that's what you want. But is it what you could afford? Zach engages in risk management by actively managing every single portfolio, which can reduce risk and volatility. And he will look at your accounts. He'll look at your equity in your home, your investment accounts, any sort of outstanding debts you have, and he will tell you how exposed you are to risk and how near you are to a successful retirement. And here's how Zach defines success in retirement: knowing exactly how much money you will have every month for the rest of your life. And he'll look at these portfolios for free, no obligation. Just call him at 866-779-RISK. That's 866-779-RISK, or go to knowyourriskradio.com, and he'll make that happen for you. Bulwark Capital Management's an investment advisor representative of Trek Financial LLC and SEC-registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24-378. Here is a little update from Aurora, Colorado, and then we'll play the greatest hits.
Okay, Aurora, Colorado now. This is a live look now. The sun is up there in that state, and police have now detained 14 people and reported armed home invasion. That's the same apartment complex where a lot of people were complaining about the armed Venezuelan gang members roaming the halls. Reports indicate that investigators said that several suspects entered the apartment and had 2 people inside. The suspects then reportedly moved the victims to another apartment complex, or rather another unit on the property where police said they were found threatened and bound. An adult man sustained a non-life-threatening stab wound. At the moment, police say it's unclear if the suspects are connected to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, but we'll get a live report in Colorado 30 minutes away and bring you the latest on that developing story.
So Martha Raddatz would treat this how? Senator Vance, the reports say it was a non-lethal stabbing. She has to do this because of caring and fairness. It's not fair that we don't let everybody become an American. It's not caring that you're talking about this as if it's a big problem. It's a huge problem for the people who, are being stabbed. I promise you, if someone sticks a knife in your gut and it's non-lethal, you're still not going to like it. This is the greatest interaction between a politician and a media member in a decade.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on.
Do you hear yourself? He starts down one path, and then his actual logic takes over. Lady, do you hear yourself? Now, I don't wish any physical harm or any harm on Martha Raddatz. But, man, would it be a good idea for her to have to live in a place like that for just a little while? My mom is a liberal. She's not insane, but she is a full-on liberal. Years ago, when I lived in a ghetto in Seattle, a full-on ghetto, and it was not uncommon for me to see people selling stereos or guns. I think if you've watched or listened to this show for any period of time, I was at one point kidnapped at gunpoint outside my building by a guy and his girlfriend, and saying God bless you when she sneezed, saved my life. So it was a very crime-ridden neighborhood. In fact, the second time I moved out, there was a man dead in the elevator who'd been shot in the drive-by shooting. Turned out he was a drug dealer, and I knew his little boy. It was that sort of building. So my mom was coming to visit me, and it was about to arrive at 3 o'clock or something, and this was before cell phones, and she called me from, I think, Ellensburg, Washington. I said, okay, listen, just do me a favor. Go downtown Seattle, get down, and I gave her a place to go that's safe. Just call me from a payphone, and I'll be outside to meet you when you drive up. Oh, don't be silly. We lived in Seattle far before you were born. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of Mom. Please, things have changed. This is not a good neighborhood. Don't be silly. So 3 o'clock comes and she's not there. My mom is known for being on time. 3:15, she's not there. 3:30, she's not there. And about 3:35, the phone rings. Hello. Hi, Mom. Where are you? Can you come and meet me? Yes. When she pulled up to my building, there were people trying to sell her stereos and drugs, and then one guy decided to try to get into her car to take it from her. She had encountered reality. The reality of where I lived and those people lived. Martha Raddatz can say in that soothing, although I think jolted old lady voice, a handful of problems. Right up until the time the handful of problems is outside her apartment window, or her condo, or her car. And at that point, it's not a handful of problems. It's a deadly series of problems. May God afford the Mockingbird media opportunities to see America, not on TV, not as they drive by, but to actually experience it. Because empathy is a thing God gives us, and it's an important thing to have. Martha Raddatz cannot function within it.